Just one more match today, but it's going to be a best of 5 instead of a best of 3 and should be absolutely spectacular. We've got Revival versus Third Impact in the winners finals or winners semifinals if you want to think of the grand finals. It doesn't matter. Either way, possible in the fall. We're going to be taking you through the last match of this first day of the Mayhem Winter Classic, and I'm excited for us to just jump right in.
This should be a fantastic one. A bit of a surprise who we have in front of us, but I think one that we can really take into and really enjoy as we see the match come through. Revival, Third Impact. And Paul, you got to say, like, we got to talk about Revival's last match there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They were, they refused to say die is what I wanted to say. I think I was going to say like relentless, or I was going to say resentless, but that's not a word. It's relentless is the word I was looking for, LaFawn. You'd think with how much English we speak, I would finally learn how it works, but not the case. But what does work is Revival and their defenses and the fact that they know their limits so well. It was a talking point we had all throughout last series.
No, it really was. And I think we talked about, there was a couple of things we can highlight. I think most notably amongst it is simply the call that went through on, a lot of the times when amplification matrix would be committed by when they were playing up against Skyfoxes or Supercharger, they would make the call to just kind of retreat and then come back in and couple that with Aspire doing fantastically on whichever character he was playing, whether it was the Hanzo, whether it was the Widowmaker, looked fantastic across the board. And Revival really looked their strongest. But we can't speak a little too early because we got to talk a little bit about Third Impact and how they made their way here.
Oh, yeah. And Third Impact, this is going to be a very interesting matchup for Revival because thus far, at the very least on stream, we don't know what the matchup versus Clockwork Vendetta looked like. But their other two matches today, Revival, they've been playing largely into mirror matchups, but when we saw Third Impact earlier, players like Dakad, Zik, and Carter were kind of dancing to the beat of their own drum.
Zik played Tracer, Carter played Soldier. They did eventually go over to the double sniper on Junkertown, but that's Junkertown, so we can't really draw any conclusions from that. But we got to talk, I think Dakad as well specifically has been fantastic on, played a Wrecking Ball, a ton of Wrecking Ball, and really provided a ton of harassment in through the back line. And, with how Revival kind of opened up, it's going to come to, can they revolve around the fact, with Dakad going to play that hyper-aggressive style on the Wrecking Ball, can they kind of deny, the main tank opportunity here on Busan?
Well, and Dakad has long since been one of the best Wrecking Balls outside of the Overwatch League, right? Even last year when he was on Triumph, before Triumph was even in contenders, he was a monster on the Wrecking Ball during the height of the GOATS meta, so it's no surprise that now that barriers are breaking down, he's able to get value there. Him and Zik looking to set up a dive, trying to find an isolated member. Carter is already eliminated, though, on the Soldier 76, so no long-range damage to pair with that heavy dive coming in. Third Impact, they're trying to set themselves up on the objective, but they're going to get collapsed onto LaFawn.
Yeah, you can see Zik in the backline trying to find something, but Dakad can't help because he's been hacked, and that means that Dakad's going to go down. You can already see the reset looking to come through. A great anti-nade, though, from Elris, and he gets stuck in the back line. But Revival, they bend, but they do not break, and they're looking to take this first fight here.
Yeah, Revival definitely seemed like they had the read on what was going to be run by Third Impact. That Sombra that Razor is coming out with has already been a nuisance.
Yeah, very much so. You can see the contest coming in from Zik, but he's just chased away. And Third Impact, they're looking for that entry point. And it's really been, sort of Razor playing gatekeeper, forced to
set his team up to get the kills. Aspire finding a two-piece to open up that fight, even gets the other tank. Dakad not going to be able to get away this time. And already 42% and climbing for Revival.
Yeah, I was going to say, Razor's playing gatekeeper. He's sort of saying, okay, if you want to come through, you got to, pass the hack. And more often than not, Dakad didn't. So this means that they're going to switch up almost entirely here. Only Elris staying on the character that he started with as Third Impact look for an opportunity to re-enter.
Going to lock down these divers much more effectively, this new composition, but Aspire can still play at range. And Elvis Zolik already down, no healing remaining for Third Impact. This is just going to be a slow trip back to spawn. As we tick up to 75%, only one fight remaining on downtown.
And I mean, you're looking back on this re-entry and thinking, how do you come back in? You have to set up, Elris and Zolik somehow here. I think you play aggressively enough to try and force out, force an entry, but Razor still has the EMP. And as they enter, as Third Impact enters, you gotta think that Razor's gonna execute here.
He's just waiting for the push to come
Oh,
in.
he
He does
does
get scouted, so he has to throw it out prematurely. And onto the card. Zik does go down regardless, though, as that ice block was forced out early. It's a 1-for-1 trade, but the point still is firmly in control of Revival here. Despite that, they are losing members, they are losing players. Aspire going for a desperate flank. Does find the kill onto Elvis, but shut down eventually. And although it's 99 for Revival, it's not going to tick to 100 just yet.
And you can see now, actually, with the A and the Hans, you can see Razor's going over to the Pharah, playing the aerial battle, saying, all right, we only have to win one fight. We need to put you in a position of disadvantage. Zik does not have the Blizzard. And you think that this is looking for an opening that they kind of go for. Aspen, an early amplification matrix.
And it mostly gets walled off. Third Impact easily just rotate away from the impact area that had. Fire not quite able to find the click onto Zik's head either there. So just has to back up, and with Boger getting walled off, gonna get taken down. It is traded though. Razor on the flank does find the one kill onto Zolik, so there could still be an opening.
It's very much still an opening, and Aspire's trying to provide opportunity to come through. And going on a large flank, it's Carter playing, trying to take away the Pharah, but that means that Razor has got so much more space here to work out in the backline, provide pressure over the top with the Pharah. The Rockets raining in. That's opened up a flank now for.
Woo! For absolutely no one, Razor getting eliminated there as the Blizzard catches the rest of Revival. It was a rough start for Third Impact on this map, but now that they have control of the point, it seems that they know exactly how they want to hold it. Carter takes him out again on the Pharah. Doesn't matter, you don't need a hit scan, you just need good damn aim.
Yeah, Razor getting a little greedy in face of Carter's play. Now, actually, this is starting to look really strong for Third Impact. This is where they once had nothing. They now have nearly everything. Icy and Carter combined obviously will be able to build up here towards those closeout ultimates.
Ball coming out there. Splits off the lines of Revival pretty early in the Gravitic Flux. Supercharger, everything being invested, but it's not in vain. Zik ever so low, trying to chase down Cowman. Gets the freeze, but can't get anything else. Finally, Revival are able to really come back into this map. It took them 99% too, but they're the ones who are able to get the 100th percentile on the board.
I mean, if you're Third Impact, you're a little bit frustrated. You die with four ultimates there that you really could help you turn that fight around. But again, it's, we've been talking Revival up all the time they've been on the broadcast about how they've done this, but they really have found their advantage. They have found those moments where, not just the moments of advantage, but the moments of weakness, and used that as a strength as well. We talked about how they kited away. There, they don't even let Third Impact set up, right? Third Impact to come up on the Gravitic Flux, on the Dragon Strike, but before they can even execute on that, Revival is already there, and so you think that Revival has done a good job of kind of reading how Third Impact have played.
They're not gonna get as an effective of a read compositionally this time, it seems, as they were probably expecting that Wrecking Ball and Tracer again, but it's just gonna be the Mei Hanzo, much more standard look here for Third Impact. Razor on the flank. Gotta pick carefully who he wants to hack here. Icy or Zolik really would be the primary targets that would make the entire team vulnerable. Already, the Immortality Field going out from Zolik to try and save Elvis, who was ever so low, still low, getting pelted in there. But Flip does come in, or not the Flip, the Cap rather, coming in for Third Impact. They've just set themselves on the objective, and Aspire is going to lose this damage for to Carter every day of the week, LaFawn, and Revival not able to make a dent thus far.
Aspire gets taken out. You're going to expect to see Revival run their way through here as they try and reset. They're staggering Doggo.
He's gonna get ult charge off this. That's worth. No,
but he's gonna switch, so it doesn't. Is he gonna switch?
Shh. Yeah, he's probably gonna switch. You have to imagine he's gonna switch.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I mean, that was just a great stagger from Third Impact
for nothing.
Yeah. All right, we are gonna see the double sniper come in. Aspire really popping off all day on the Widowmaker. The halt, no headshot though. So Icy gets to live another day.
And last time Revival tried to make these high ground rotations against Skyfoxes, it didn't work so well. But they didn't have an amplification matrix most of the time. And now they're able to at least pressure out third impact on the objective. But despite that, Icy just gets the solo kill on to Aspire. Does come back to the objective though and throw in his own gravitic flux, but it's ever so late, LaFon. No value coming out of that as Revival kept the point.
I mean, Cowman doing a great job of coming in with the cleanup, staying alive through the gravitic flux as well. It's a really smart play. Now, I mean, you talk about Icy going on the flank and taking out Aspire, yes, but in the meantime, there was no second line protection for the rest of third impact, so the gravitic flux finds a ton of value. Here now, though, I have to question, how does Revival hold here, right? They don't have either support ultimate. They're really relying on their DPS to take advantage of the damage boosts to kind of just burst out third impact before the fight starts.
Razor on this flank, trying to pressure out Carter at the moment. But with Boger already down, and third impact is capping mid-fight, Revival are not at all where they want to be right now. 75% and counting for third impact is they hardly had to flinch to take that objective.
Yeah, very broken fight, but it might end up costing here as third impact. They look to hold out. You gotta expect Aspire has to find something. Accidentally dodges the
accretion.
the accretion.
It was all calculated. He
Yeah,
meant
100%.
to miss the first grappling. 100% there. Now he's just going to try and pressure out that shield. But meanwhile, on the other side of the map, his team is getting zoned away by a Dragon Strike. They don't seem to be done quite yet, though. No one can get to the objective. And that means we are 1-1 here on Busan.
I mean, yeah, third
Is
impact.
this our first control map on stream all day where it's been 1-1?
Yes. I
Huh?
believe so. Yeah.
This goes to show this is going to be a great match.
As we are going to see, yeah, Revival was the last stream on match, and they went 2-0 on Busan as well. So this is going to, this is now, we're going to head back to Mecca Base, and the May is going to come into huge effect here, right? It's a close quarters map. We saw it on King's Row in our last series as well, sort of how the May plays into this particular engage, and I think it's going to come down to those walls. Can those walls find value to really section off teams and prevent the tanks from finding the ingress that they need? Razor and Zik are the two to keep your eyes on here for sure.
Well, and for the first time this series, we've got a mirror match up. Didn't take super long to come out. Both these teams just going to try and fight over the high ground, but with Aspire over on a bit of a longer flank, he's not going to be able to pressure out the shields as effectively. He's going to be looking for picks around them instead. He knows where Carter is, goes at the Storm Arrow, but has to re-evaluate his strategy as Carter just gets away. And with Boger and Razor already down, this angle from Aspire hasn't come up with much of anything.
No, the tanks have been playing very separated from Revival. I mean, twice now we've seen Boger kind of off in no man's land as third impact just wins out the fight. And it really does come down to that. Ducod plays a little bit closer, is able to stay inside his team a little bit more, and they just find more value. So now you can see the contest coming in third impact. They're holding out, and Aspire's by himself.
He is, and he's going to reevaluate that plan. Says, you know what? I don't want to be all alone. I'm going to go back to my team, try and take an angle through the window, but he gets scouted by Icy there, and yet again, while Aspire's trying to find his angle, Boger goes down. Can't sustain out the front line, and Cowman very nearly joins him in the grave.
Yeah, they're going to have to reset here full on, and they're not getting there. Razor gets caught out. Zik does not push too far, doesn't decide to push his left.
Yeah, Zik was a little bit too low. He realized he was going to lose that 1v1 there. But Carter's just got such a great angle. But as I say that, Ducod going down, just getting popped by the amplification matrix from Aspen, giving Revival all the damage they need. Already 2 kills, which means that now it's just a question of how long can third impact stall with Icy already down. The answer is going to be not very long at all.
Carter's going to take one for his troubles, but again, it does not matter. Zolik will never get to point. They're going to turn it over. As, again, it's just going to be the 3 sets come in. Now the stagger, again, 67%. So, very close to that sort of one-fight territory if you are third impact. And they're okay with how that turned out. But I mean, you look at Revival here. Can you force the defense to use, you know, more of their resources than they're really itching to? Obviously, if you can get just the Blizzard to be the one out on top, that's what you're kind of expecting. And Razor here has to be on the mark.
Cowman has this Gravitic Flux online. It seems like it's a bit of a split push at the moment here from Third Impact. But with Boger down again, first in the fight, just getting popped. Just a little bit too far forward. Now Third Impact can easily push and get all the kills they want and more. Reclaim the objective despite some stragglers from Revival.
That is the case, and I mean, with Aspire using the Dragon Strike, they didn't find much there. You expect the walking here is going to be the Blizzard's dueling, but with the high ground advantage, definitely on Third Impact's side, Zik is definitely one here who's going to try and just, as they enter through the choke, be the one to lock him out.
Razor has a Blizzard of his own, however, so one good halt from Boger could set him up, but Boger needs to live long enough to get that actually coming through. Gravitic Flux forces both the Immortality Field and the Transcendence. Blizzard's thrown out, but somebody's got to get to the objective. We're at 98% and counting as Revival move their way on over, and they managed to do so while cleaning up Third Impact as well, so we're not quite done with Busan yet.
I mean, Zik commits the Blizzard after the fight has already been lost, and you're looking at that and saying, what is that for the next fight? You are in last fight territory, so you do have, you know, resources to work with. You know, you have time rather to build up to that fight. Perhaps one, I think, is probably all you get, but it's something at least. And Third Impact, they need to find something here on the entryway.
Carter was an absolute monster in the series earlier we saw on stream. See if he can be as effective on the Hanzo as he was on the Widow. Aspire shuts him down, so he's not going to be able to do so, at least for the moment. Aggressive push coming in from Revival. Actually, they leave Cowman kind of to die over on the side there. They got to get some more cleanup kills if they want to ensure that they can hold on to this defense. Aspire kind of low. Sustain. Has to go on the Dragon Strike, though, and the rest of his team gets wiped off the map. They didn't find the kills fast enough. And now Third Impact back from spawn and poised to take the objective.
Carter Duggo, that's a clean trade here. And now with the supercharger, rather, you're looking at Revival and saying they just got to get out of dodge. It's the fight takes over. Somebody's get back to point. It's gonna be the Wrecking Ball. But this is just desperation here from Revival.
Boger manages to trigger it, but already 2 gone. 3 as Razor joins his fellow DPS in the grave. Everything invested from Third Impact means there's no way they lose this fight. And it means that they're going to claim the first map of Busan.
I mean, that was, you know, your Revival, there was an opportunity there to close it out, but you just step a little too far forward for the first time, really, all series. And Third Impact punishes hard, taking the victory there. That being said, we do have a match on our hands, Paul. This has been a very close affair.
The closest first map we've had on stream, to be sure. But, LaFawn, I want to zero in on something that we briefly touched on during that map, which is Boger. What is going on here? Because we haven't gotten a good angle on it as of yet, but it seems like every other fight, he's just getting popped at the beginning of it.
I mean, we could kind of see this just running like away from the team. We're seeing, you know, oftentimes if we're on, you know, Aspire or on Razor and seeing sort of how they're positioned, we're not seeing their the Orisa nearby. Boger's off and just, you know, in the front line, but there's no one to support him, so he just goes down. And without that main tank role, you kind of just lose out. I think here you gotta kind of say what is happening with the tank line, because when they're playing together, Revival has been very strong. I think you can definitely say that, but a lot of the time they're kind of a couple of those fights just lost because Boger was down before any sort of entry had been available.
Seems like Revival is maybe spreading themselves too thin across the map here. So as we move on to our second map, chosen by Revival, surprise, surprise, it is Rialto, as we get a Busan Rialto match for the third time today from Revival here. We know what they're going to run, LaFawn. We know that they're going to come out with a Widowmaker and a Pharah, but how do we think Third Impact is going to handle it?
I think here's where we could possibly see, you know, Third Impact. I mean, Third Impact will likely play a similar composition. I think the tank line is probably where I'm most interested by, because we've seen Deacon on the Wrecking Ball. And Wrecking Ball, you know, if he can get that disruption, if he can get that, you know, backline presence, could have a, you know, a huge impact on the effect of the fight. So I want to see if that's going to be the standard play, where we're seeing Decod and Icy kind of play up the Orisa Sigma, as this partnership has been a long-standing duo in the tank line, or if we're going to see Icy continue to play the Orisa as Decod goes over to the Wrecking Ball. I think that's probably a difference maker here, but Carter has been, on the role of that sniper role, has done a good job of shutting down his counterparts.
Well, and let's focus in on Wrecking Ball specifically as a hero. How viable do you think Wrecking Ball is on Rialto specifically? Because it's a lot of tight corners, right? I'm not quite sure that Decod is going to be able to get away with it, even despite his amazing chops on the hamster hero.
It's certainly going to be. At this point here, it's more about what is Third Impact bringing to the table versus Revival. Because I think with Revival, we're seeing a look from them that kind of makes sense. They play off the standard composition, the Mei Hanzo on the tight choke point maps, whether that be, a stage like Mecca Base or on King's Row. But that when they get to an open map, they play the Pharah Hanzo. They play Pharah Widowmaker rather. They play a very a very consistent style throughout. Third Impact has really been the only team we've seen today who's strayed away from that in any sense of the word. Right, they're playing. They had the Soldier. They had the Wrecking Ball a ton as well. And I think that's going to be here. Is Third Impact going to continue to evolve and experiment, or are they going to just go for the mirror in this sort of situation?
Well, and it is worth noting, right? Although we have seen that one specific kind of funky composition from Third Impact, right? It's not like, they're one-tricking a weird composition and catching one off guard, right?
Oh,
it's not
absolutely
like,
not.
Clockwork Vendetta once did. It's not like, what was that team? The one with Brandito on it. How am I forgetting its name? The Open Division team, where they just one-trick Doomfisting goats. You know what I mean, though. They're not one-tricking a weird composition and getting away with it because it's weird. They're able to play down the meta as well. They're winning a lot of these mirror matchups thus far. It's just they also have a little bit of flexibility.
No, absolutely. I think this has always been the strength of the players on this roster, on Third Impact's roster, right? You think of Decod first and foremost. He well known, historically for his Reinhardt and his Wrecking Ball, and then brought the Orisa into the mix as she was required. So, clearly this is a player that has enjoyed that sort of flexibility. And then I think one player to keep an eye on is Elris, coming from the Far East Society in Pacific Contenders,
right?
Which was I don't know if any of you had a chance to catch up on Pacific Contenders, but Far East Society was a very fun team to watch. So last season, so Elris, definitely a huge part of that. Coming in though, no surprises now from our defense, but on attack, we're going to see sort of a mirror, except Carter this time instead of Soldier is going to be on the Widowmaker.
Well, and interestingly enough, we do have Decod on that Wrecking Ball, right? So with that pile driver, he could set up Carter for some easy headshots. But right now, it's just Sick on the flank, waiting for his Wrecking Ball before he dives on in. They've spotted his fire, but they can't quite connect onto him. The grappling hook gets him away to safety as Icy is taken down. It is a 1-for-1 trade, though. Aspen finding her way into the ocean, it seems. And Third Impact is still able to push forward a little bit.
Yep. We're gonna find, this is an interesting thing though. With Aspire being able to get to the high ground, Zik doesn't have any vertical mobility. So the fact is that's one of the ways they're trying to kite around. They're trying to use to kite around this. Aspire again finding Zik, but it's Razor who goes down. And Third Impact has now had all the ample opportunity they need to get out.
Well, and Zik is just trying desperately to find any isolated target here. Looking for Aspen too, but the Immortality Field going to keep her alive. Good investment to just honestly deny any kind of value. And Carter is struggling at the moment to find an angle. He's going to reposition, go for a little bit more of a risky one. Couldn't quite find the shot onto Aspen's head, however. And with Decod going down, it's still too difficult for Third Impact to push in, especially with the Supercharger coming out.
Yeah, and now Zik has all the room that he kind of needs to work with. As their Immortality Field is gone, with Aspen going down. You're looking at Razor having to put some value, but there's nothing here over the top. Minefield committed as well.
Razor largely uncontested on this angle, but it's Carter who's finding the value, at least for the moment. Zik in the backline is removed from the fight there by Cowman. And with two tanks still firmly planted on the objective, Third Impact still gonna struggle to actually move that payload.
Yeah, a really good buying of time here from Revival to get their team back, as has been their one all day long. Carter forced to use the grappling hook, but will not get away.
Carter can't quite find the shot onto Razor either, so he's not going to be able to eliminate him for the moment. Finds the double body shot, though, and while the rest of his team is finding the players on the ground, the air war is no longer something to have to worry about. So finally, Third Impact can move toward the end of this objective.
And we're going to see switches come through now. Razor's going to go over to the main. You would expect Spire to switch to the Hanzo or something similar. Sticking with the Tracer for now. They want to get back to the point, perhaps to contest. They need to, as there's several meters remaining.
He's going to deal with Carter on this flank, though. He can easily take out the Immortality field. Oh, it's going to be Aspire, but it's too little and too late. Dakad and the rest of Third Impact have already done the damage on the objective, and although Aspire does get the kill onto Carter, the first point is going to be capped.
Struggled so hard, but they'd not get nearly far enough. Aspire back at spawn. Unfortunately, the hard way, and yeah, that's going to be swaps come through. As we're now going very close to that mirror composition, actually no, Elris goes back to spawn and elects to give up the built, or the 70% nano boost charge he'd built, as they now have true mirror compositions. However, this really hurts. This hurts Third Impact more, as they have the Revival has much more to work with.
Well, you say that, but Doggo's already
Carter
down, so that's going to hurt the most here, to be certain. Aspen pretty low, too. Razor using the wall to keep himself alive. The trade coming onto Carter. Revival can maybe look to get into this. Aspire on this flank needs to find the head of somebody, anybody. He gets thrown down onto the ground. He's ever so vulnerable, and the halt ensures that the kill comes on to the Hanzo of Revival, but a little bit slow going here for Third Impact, and as the Rabbinic Flux comes out, it's going to be even slower going as they have to retreat and heal up all that damage.
Yeah, you can see that they're just going to push in. We got these spawners. Cameron's playing it up super aggressively. Perhaps too aggressively, though. However, there comes in Razor to save him, as was the Immortality field. Paul, a very clean go after the staggers. It seems that Busan taught Revival the lesson that they needed.
Bulgar does invest the supercharger there, though, at the end of that fight. And while it probably was necessary, it really only was that necessary because of how far forward Revival pushed, right?
That being said, you do build Razor up close to the Blizzard as a result. So you are going to have both support ultimates and the Blizzard coming into this next fight, giving Revival the tools they definitely need to shut out the attack run here from Third Impact.
Yeah. One good halt can set Razor up as well, or he can simply just wait for Third Impact to push through a choke point altogether. Gonna drop down onto the low ground, get caught in that Rabbinic Flux, but the Ice Block keeps it from having any kind of value. Dragon Strike up into the air does split off a couple members of Revival. Cowman ever so low up there, eventually going to be healed up. Nobody pushed onto the 1 HP Sigma that Revival was working with, and although it seems like Third Impact have gained a few meters, they haven't won this fight or even gotten an elimination as of yet.
Yeah, there comes the wall up, trying to break off line of sight. That forced the Transcendence out, Paul.
Transcendence and the Gravitic Flux coming through at the same time. It only nets one kill. That doesn't seem like it's going to be enough for Revival. Boger's now down, and every time Boger has gone down, the fight has been lost by Revival thus far. That difference in shield is so important with all these tiny little angles that Revival is getting pelted from right now. Cowman loses his shield, loses most chance to keep himself alive, but despite that, just some nice positioning, some nice line of sight play around the stairwell, and Revival refused to give up the objective.
No, with this, that's a really clean play. Even though Carter gets one on the flank, it will not be enough. Revival, again, they bend but do not break, and that really has been the consistent mark throughout the entirety of their tournament today. Looking in, last fight, gotta say, Razor on the spot. Will he be able to land this Blizzard and prevent Third Impact from winning the fight?
Pretty much all on the Blizzard is Gravitic Flux. Not nearly the ult it was in Meta's past, just because of the positioning players take these days. Already gonna throw that out. The ult does grab it onto 3 and force out the Transcendence from Doggo, but already the Blizzard coming out too, and nothing really gained from Razor or Zin's Blizzard. Realistically speaking, Razor still locking down the objective. Gonna have to try and dodge that Dragon Strike, but manages to do so rather effectively. And Icy, or Fire rather, on this flank is largely uncontested. He found 2 already. He's gonna throw the Dragon Strike in to guarantee a hold. And Revival refuse to give up the second point.
That is so clean from Revival. Again, they just buy time to get, you know, Icy playing a very aggressive rotation on that flank on their attack, trying to get through, and he's just he found out. Spire takes him down, and then, you know, you have the advantage. And I think one player I want to highlight, who has been really fantastic in more ways than just one, has been Razor. Razor's has done, you know, we talked about in terms of the damage potential that he dealt on Pharah, in terms of how he, you know, being able to build Blizzard. But something that we haven't talked about is his wall, is using the maze wall to be able to section off multiple things. Obviously sectioning off the tanks, which is very important, but keep an eye out on how he sections the wall when the immortality field is down in these next fights. If you can break line of sight on the immortality field, it doesn't work anymore. And so Razor has done this consistently, where he's blocked off the, you know, the immortality field and opened up the opportunity for, you know, his for the rest of the DPS and for his tanks to clean up those that thought they were once safe. And that really has been a huge part as to why, you know, in fights that look pretty good for the opponent, Revival has been able to eke out victories in those sort of situations.
And if you've been with us for the other 2 matches we've seen Revival through, you know what's coming out from Razor as they enter this attack. It's going to be that Pharah. He's been pretty much indomitable on the Pharah thus far today, LaFawn, and I'm not seeing the composition I really would think I need to if I want to shut down Razor's Pharah. We've got Carter on the Hanzo, who admittedly was giving Razor a run for his money earlier this series while playing Hanzo, but with Zik also on the Mei, it's not much consistent damage being pumped down to Razor in the air.
Yeah, this is it's really going to be down to breaking the front line first. And I mean, the Spire looking beyond the shield, Carter says, that's mine. And takes him out, so headshot clean there. Carter again trying to put on a show.
Zik already down though, so it is a 1-for-1, and the spawn's much closer here for Revival at the moment. And nobody's really able to contest Razor at the moment. He's just pumping in so much damage. Finally, he gets taken down, but already so much space having to get given up here by Third Impact.
Yeah, that was such a clean. You know, give credit where credit is due, though. That was a good accretion onto the Pharah by Icy.
Sure.
Valorous takes out Doggo, and now the Pharah Mercy is no longer available, so a disadvantage clearly in terms of the DPS department for Revival as they look to try, as the Third Impact looks to try and make a re-entry here. Carter again on the flank.
Carter on the flank.
DPS.
Finds Spire yet again. Refuses to play anything but completely freely into the enemy. Anytime there's a sniper on the enemy team, Carter knows he's going to shut him down. And that is what really allows Third Impact to come back and gain control of the objective.
I mean, that was a little greedy from Revival, though. It must be said. They did not have the opportunity to go through, and rather than play to their advantages, they kind of let Carter back in. Carter making full work of it, though, as he has really whenever he's been given the opportunity. So now you're looking at Revival as they need to get around the back. Razor trying to find that secondary crossfire to open up room for a Spire here.
Already, the Amplification Matrix and the Dragon Strike rather coming out from Carter gets a bunch of damage down, and with Boger and Aspen so low in this room, they're gonna try and make a long rotation. Boger barely manages to live, but it doesn't gain Revival control of the cart.
No, but this has actually put so much pressure onto the backline. Actually, Razor needs to be very careful here, as it was. I'm not entirely sure what was hitting him, but it was something very dangerous nonetheless.
Carter, gotta be a little bit careful. His positioning is not ideal. The wall coming out from Zik means that Carter can get back to the rest of the team. Excellent work there from Zik, and he's still got this Blizzard online as well. Concussive Rocket not gonna find anything from Razor there, and now it's a bit tricky for Razor to find the ideal angle. There's that Blizzard from Zik. Gets low, but Zik manages to stay alive and help his team clean up Revival as we hit 1 minute and 20 seconds left in the timer.
Yeah, Aspire's gonna get 1, but that's all he's gonna trade for. He gets 2 actually as he gets out. But now, you know, in this last minute half, you're looking at this. If you're Revival, you're saying, how do we enter? This is possibly the worst place for the Pharah. There's just no way to really protect himself with the barrage, so he's looking for that crossfire again And it hasn't really found. I mean, with how close to that final point it is, Zik is going to get so much more value. It's a choke that has to be pushed through. And the Mei thrives there.
Less than 60 seconds remaining. Razor has to throw this barrage in eventually. And with Decod going down, I mean,
that's an opening.
A definite opening here. Icy getting booped forward as well. Should be punished swiftly, but Immortality Field does save him so that he can get back to his team and contest the cart as it nearly reaches the end of point A. Zik going down though, so no wall is going to be available, and everything has to be thrown in by the supports to just try and keep their impact on this objective. But Icy refuses to die, and Carter gets a 2K with his Dragon Strike at range yet again. Third impact, they give up space, they give up kills, but they will not see this first point. The barrage finally coming out, but Elris shuts it down at range, and it's seeming like it's curtains here for map number 2.
And this has really been a case of Carter coming alive at the very end. The tanks stay up, it's trying, and they're desperate to contest, but it's just Aspire. There's no one else. And that will be it. They close it down, and it looks desperate. It looked dicey, but third impact. They close out Rialto, and they take Revival's map, and they take it with a little bit more dominance than Revival was expecting.
Well, and Revival looked good on their defense, right?
Yeah.
Being able to hold second point, that's no small feat, but third impact, they refused to die. We talked about Revival knowing their limits. Third impact is putting on a clinic for them right now, at least on Rialto here. We're going to go to King's Row for our third and potentially final map of the series. Reminder, although the other matches we've seen today have all been best of 3s, this one is a best of 5. It is the winners semifinals. The winner of this match, which Third Impact are poised to take, honestly, is going to go to the grand finals of this tournament.
Right. Let's take a moment to talk about Third Impact, because we've been talking Revival up so much. Rightfully,
Very
they got to this point pretty handily, but I want to talk about Impact and sort of a difference we've seen from the first time we saw them on stream to now. In the first match that we saw them streamed, right, it was Decod and Zik's show. They were playing very aggressive Wrecking Ball, Zik coming in on the Tracer, cleaning house. And now you can see the evolution where Zik is playing the supporting role and allowing Carter to come back into the limelight and really shine on the sort of sniper roles that he's been playing. And I think this has been really a mark of a great team, is that Third Impact, they have superstars at every role, don't make no mistake about it, but they don't need to perform as a superstar in every single fight, in every single match. And that means that you can have players shining at one point or another, but you always have a baseline of consistency across the board, and that has allowed Third Impact to get to where they are.
And even though Third Impact, a lot of these players, they haven't been playing with each other for a ton of time, right? I mean, you can presume that they've been scrimming even before roster announcements, right? And they had, good synergy regardless, but going into the North American Contenders placement tournament next week, Third Impact's got to feel great. You 2-0'd Tea Party earlier. You're about to get a 3-0 against Revival, who have beaten other teams you needed to beat, like Simplicity and Skyfoxes, right? Third Impact, they're on top of the world right now. And it's up to Revival to come alive on King's Row and keep this series competitive.
Yeah, this has really been, I think, a statement tournament for both these teams, though, weirdly enough. Revival has kind of put their mark and said, we are definitely in the conversation of teams to be worried about. We are a series team that really needs to be taken seriously, and I think Third Impact has kind of said, well, here we are on top of the world, and who's going to come here to reach us? Both Skyfoxes and Second Wind are in the lower bracket here in our tournament, and yes, Skyfoxes and Second Wind played each other, so that perhaps has something to come through, but, it's very telling heading into next week's tournament how we can kind of expect, this is a preview really of what we can kind of expect for the rest of NA in terms of the upcoming year. And it's been a great start, I think, to the year. Perhaps one of the best chances to see a tournament start off a year that we've had in Overwatch in quite some time.
Oh yeah, I'm loving this, the Mayhem Winter Classic. And to keep everybody updated on the bracket, you can check it out yourself if you type !bracket into the chat. But I'm going to read it off here anyways, just because I like to. The only team remaining that isn't an NA Contenders team is actually Old Man Strength, the winners of the practice season of Open Division. I mean, not terribly surprising. They're a very good team, but they did just lose to Third Impact. Also kind of to be expected. They've got to go through Second Wind. Good luck to them. And if they can't, then it's just NA Contenders all day for tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, heading into tomorrow, obviously the bracket is kind of set. We're looking really at all the remaining of these teams will be playing tomorrow, and kind of coming in tomorrow. The expectations are set. Like we've seen some fantastic gameplay across the board, but you gotta kind of think who's really at the top of the list, who's kind of making our short list of teams to kind of be worried about. And I think, if you think about it, Skyfox's Second Wind and obviously the two teams here in our upper bracket remaining are really sort of I think the short list. And Old Man Strength and Simplicity, both teams that are I think have to be feared, have to be worried about, but you definitely lower on terms of the totem pole in terms of how we rank them. Perhaps some heads will be turned though, some changes will be made, and I think they also have a chance tomorrow to make a statement about where they're going. But in terms of where we're going, we're going to head into the map between Third Impact and Revival in just a moment. Reminder: Kings Row is the map of choice that Revival picked, and excited to see how this goes. Again, back-to-back maps that Revival picked. And they looked strong against Third Impact in the previous one, just unable to close it out at the very end.
Yeah, and while we're waiting for the teams to get all ready as we head into Kings Row, do want to remind you guys that here for the Mayhem Winter Classic, we are partnered with the nonprofit organization Gift of Life that has a mission of curing patients with blood cancer illnesses such as leukemia and lymphoma. If you want to get involved, be one of the heroes that the world needs, type in !gift into the chat. That's !GIFT, and you can get all the information there to register, get a swab kit, maybe even donate bone marrow, and that would just be absolutely wonderful. So !gift in the chat gets you set up.
Level up indeed. All right, so
I never said the word level up.
I know, but I'm saying it.
But why is it indeed if you're the only one saying it?
Oh my goodness.
I don't think that's proper English, but you know what is proper Overwatch at the very least is this match. That was a rough transition, but we're just going to keep going with it. Revival and Third Impact. And let's talk Kings Row here, LaFawn, because we've seen it all day long. Unsurprisingly, it's one of the favorite hybrid maps in all of Overwatch. And I think it's safe to say that we're probably going to get that mirror matchup yet again, where it's Hanzo and Mei on both teams, right? And although Razor, we were talking about Razor's Mei being very impressive earlier, I think Aspire versus Carter on the Hanzo battle, Carter is, at the very least, so far this series, looking like he wants to run away with it.
I think here it's also a case of where the setup for success is coming through. Carter is being given so much more space to work with, and this is not a call out on Carter specifically, because I think he's been doing fantastically with that. We saw the shot on Busan when Razor was going over the top. Hits the Pharah in the air, the headshot. It's clean. I think here it's a little bit of a difference in terms of the theory that's coming in. Third Impact is playing around, keeping their playing a very aggressive front line, playing aggressive tank line, and then having Carter just burst down those front lines as Zik plays out the the Mei a lot of the time, using the Mei wall to kind of section off and then provide the freeze, the slow, and then giving room for Carter to work with. Meanwhile, if you look at Aspire's playing a little bit more passively in terms of he's trying to put pressure on the tanks and then give room for Razor to kind of come in over the back line and find value there. So definitely a difference of opinion in terms of how you want to utilize your manpower. And at least for now, Carter seems to be the one who's taking more advantage in that situation.
Well, when you say Aspire's playing defensively, how defensive are you playing if Carter's taking your head off every other team fight at the beginning of it, right? I mean, at the very least, that's how the story went on Rialto. We're going to have to see if it holds on Kings Row. This is Revival's last chance to ensure that they make it to the grand finals. If they don't, they're going to have to play either the third or second place team down in the lower bracket tomorrow. But first and foremost, they got to try and not lose Kings Row. They did a spectacular job when we saw them here just last series. So I'm still very excited for how this team will shape up.
Absolutely, but I think if anyone can really change up how how Revival kind of plays against it is Third Impact. Third Impact, we've seen from them.
I can't wait to see you all.
I can't wait to see you all in action. And then switches immediately to Risa because that is the correct way of playing Winston these days.
Okay, well.
No, he's
Come on, don't play with our
going
hearts
for a
like
little
this,
switch over the top. Yeah.
Don't play with our hearts like this.
No,
he's
not. He's trying to launch the Risa to the high ground. It's funny.
Yeah. Well, just going to be launching himself onto the low ground there, as you just have to kind of walk up to that point. Aspire playing in that same position we saw him versus Skyfox, and Boger already so low. Thankfully, Aspen saves him with the Immortality Field, but now that is not going to be available as third impact. Just push forward aggressively. Dakad throwing his shield on the objective there. Cowman does still have this flank under wrap, but it just means that he can't apply his shield to save the rest of his team. Aspire already down. That first tick gained now by third impact as well. Slowly but surely, Impact, third Impact getting an impact here. They're gonna throw out, they're gonna have to deal with the other team's amplification matrix, but can somebody please get on the objective? Yes, Boger does, but it's too little and too late. Third Impact already have control.
But with the Gravitic Flux, this is still entirely returnable. As you can see coming in, Cowman stays alive long enough to get the cleanup kills, and the Gravitic Flux was enough at the very literally skin of the teeth. But they do get the hold, 98.3%. And Revival, they make it close, but they hold for now. Unfortunately, they were, actually weren't using that much. You still have Razor's Blizzard coming through here in this next fight. If you can dodge Icy's Gravitic Flux.
Well, can't dodge much of anything if you're Cowman there. Gravitic Flux coming through already. Aspen lifted into the air, going to be surviving down on the ground, but can't say the same about Razor, who threw in the Blizzard, but it had no sort of effectiveness there. Aspen eliminated. And that's going to be the first point going over to third impact.
Elris and Doggo off to the corner at the very end, taking each other out. That was amusing. Anyway, back into the action. You're looking at Zik here, has the Blizzard online. And here, this is going to be a rough. This is going to be a rough fight for Revival, certainly. I would expect here, if you're Revival, one of two things can happen. Either you play an aggressive fight to lose out early so you can get a second fight on the second point, or you try and play a very slow fight to try and build up to your ultimates. And we'll see which one they elect to go with. But right now, they don't have much of anything at the very start of this engagement to kind of engage with.
And Zik is just hiding inside this room here, waiting to throw out the Blizzard if Revival push too far forward. Supercharger is going to go down there from Boger. Decon already eliminated. And the Blizzard doesn't seem to catch much of anything here from Zik. Despite that, the investment coming in, amplification matrix coming through, but it's all blue in the kill feed. Only Zik remaining, and he's gonna just have to pray he gets away with his life.
And Revival elects to do the second of the two options that I kind of said. They staggered out long enough to build up to their ultimates, and then they got through and just dumped in more. They're building up now. They have to start to build online to the Gravitic Flux. They weren't able to get a clean enough fight win. They're still gonna have to give up some space here. But they will get out alive and look to re-engage here as the cart moves through the second corner.
Only one more defensive fight here, and it's going to start off with the Supercharger coming down from Dakad. Very safe placement as well. So there's not going to be much of a way to eliminate that. Revival just have to try and sustain through. Cowman caught out the wall. Excellent from Zik. Eliminates the overextended Sigma. And now the rest of third impact can just push forward and systematically eliminate the members of Revival, guaranteeing themselves a second point.
Zik cosplaying as a absolute terror there, uses the freeze to just remove everyone. And now, pushing forward, third impact. They have 4 minutes remaining. They have some time to work with here. And really, can they survive the ult return that is coming from Revival here, Paul?
Already, amplification matrix invested. And one amplification matrix deserves another, is what Aspen says, but hers is the only one that finds value, seemingly. Dakad and Carter already eliminated, and Icy couldn't find anything with the Gravitic Flux, so pretty clean hold here for Revival.
Yeah, a really good engagement there from them as they recognize their limits. Coming back in now, not really, they use the both support ultimates, but not much else. And here comes the Gravitic Flux in return.
Yeah, the Transcendence is there from Elvis, though, so just an ultimate for an ultimate traded out there. Cowman is ulted in, but it's Boger who goes down to that Dragon Strike. Carter finding that kill, and Aspire not getting the same kind of value out of their own Dragon Strike. They just have to back up now, Revival, and pray that Razor can stall enough time off the clock so that the respawns come through.
Yeah, you're going to have to come in and see No, with Razor going down, you don't have the Blizzard looking on the re-engage. You need to stay alive here. Card moves forward. There's the Blizzard. No one can get the point.
Blizzard, Cowman. Oh, both Boger and Cowman couldn't make it to the objective. Pretty hefty time bank, all things considered, for it being King's Row. 2 minutes and 47 seconds is not what I would want to play against LaFawn.
I mean, not really. That was just really strong play there from Third Impact, and they seem to have gained steam as the game has gone on. Right? We think about how Revival played up close to them in map number 1, but after since then, even with the defensive hold on Rialto, you kind of say that Revival has kind of fallen prey more and more to how Third Impact is aggressing on them, and I think there was a situation that third point where you look at Revival and you're saying, okay, here's where they probably want to take their stand. They had, the Blizzard, they had the Gravitic Flux, they had some, the Dragon Strike. There was opportunities to engage, but rather than, sort of wait for that to happen, Third Impact took the initiative and ended up, just forcing the Dragon Strike on Carter's side and pushing through sort of those moments. And yeah, obviously Third Impact closed out with a rather hefty time bank.
And now Revival, if they want to even stay in this map, much less this match or the upper bracket entirely, they have to cap with time. All 3 points. That is quite the tall task for them. And you gotta be looking at players like Aspire and Boger, who've just been kind of outclassed by their counterparts. Aspire not necessarily playing bad, really, but Carter's just giving him a run for his money.
Yeah, again, really strong play there. Carter has really always been one of the premier hit scan players here in our most recent set of tournaments, if we kind of think that through. And then looking to continue to provide that pressure onto the defensive run here. Third Impact trying to close out the series.
Excellent halt already. Combo with the wall there from Zik to just pump in so much damage to Revival. Cowman trying not to get caught out on that rotation, does manage to back his way on up, and now him and Aspire are on this flank over the entirety of the objective, and Aspire doesn't even need to necessarily see where they are, but he wants to anyway. Goes in that Sonic Arrow. Now Cowman has control of the high ground too. This is a rough position for Third Impact to be in. They've thrown out their own mortality field. It's hard for them to get back onto the objective now. Todd's gonna throw out his own personal shield. Carter just completely ignores Aspire, and why would you not when Aspire doesn't quite hit the shot? Now he deals with them. He says, okay, you can get cleaned up after I've killed the rest of you.
Is Aspen gonna get out alive? Oh, barely, just gets away. Carter looking for the kill, but the shield is there in time, so Carter's gonna have to retreat here. But that was a really expensive fight for only 2 ticks of progress gained. And looking now, you see that Third Impact has the tools to work with the hold out here. Gravitic Flux online, a Blizzard as well. Third Impact are looking pretty strong in this next fight.
Already the Gravitic Flux coming out does catch both the tanks of Revival, and that means the Immortality Field has to come out early. Dragon Strike's traded, but neither one finding an elimination for the moment, and expect Revival to just sort of wait for their resources to come back before they push.
That's kind of what they have to do. There comes the Blizzard, though. Is there any way to stay alive? Zik goes down, but though it's the the defensive Blizzard, it's actually the offense that gets a little bit more value off the top. And now you're kind of expecting Carter to kind of pop off. He does so. And again, Revival, they just lose out in the end at the very, very, very last.
Well, and they do force out the Amplification Matrix late into that fight, but with Carter still on this angle, there's just not much of a hope for entry without shielding. Now the shields are coming back from spawn, and Cowman does have that Gravitic Flux online to force out the Immortality Field early. But with Aspire already going down, who's going to follow up on it? Gravitic Flux comes out, Cowman's punished for his arrogance, and the rest of the team is sent back to spawn. Only 1 minute and 23 seconds remaining to get that final tip.
Yeah, you're looking to see if you can kind of get out alive, but it's not going to be the case as Carter pushes forward. They want to get these stragglers, and Carter is going to have to move empty-handed this time around as the peel comes in from spawn. Cowman again takes so much damage, and they've allowed Carter to build up to the Dragon Strike yet again. So you're looking at this next fight. Gravitic Flux is back online for Icy. And with 60 seconds remaining, that's the start that you needed.
Elvis is going to be down immediately here. But already the Dragon Strike coming through. A ton of damage pumped out in the Immortality Field Force. It's destroyed. And that means Carter cleans them up with that Dragon Strike. 40 seconds remaining. And despite the investment from Revival, they just can't get that third tick. Oh, poor Boger. Oh, he gets Kinetic Grasp, so he doesn't even get the ult charge. Oh, well, he already had Supercharger anyways, but still.
But, I mean, now you're in their
It's
last
the
30
principle.
seconds. I mean, you're in your last 30 seconds, and you're going into Amplification Matrix and Blizzard. You gotta hope that you can rush through and land yours first, because Revival, this is last fight.
This could be the last fight of the entire series, the last fight of the day, if Revival can't find value. First thing out is the Dragon Strike. Aspen already down, though, on the entry. That's not how you want to start Revival, especially since the Dragon Strike doesn't get anything. Transcend is committed to try and keep the tanks of Revival alive, but even that's not enough for Cowman and Boger to stay in this fight. The overtime wick is slowly burning away, and it's just so many squishy members on the point, and the tanky members of Third Impact are easily holding it down. Aspen's gonna try back on the Lucio. Cowman gets to the point on the Wrecking Ball, but it's just not enough. Third Impact 3-0 to guarantee themselves a place in the grand finals of the first ever Mayhem Winter Classic.
As we let the match play out, man, what an end from Third Impact. Revival. There was an opportunity for them, but Third Impact shut the door. Actually, this was probably... How does...
Because Icy takes out the Immortality Field there, and they're all standing inside the Dragon Strike.
Yeah. And they cannot commit the Transcendence there either to stay alive, because the Gravitic Flux was used. So by that point, they would have, if you walk in, you're just going to get taken down. Unfortunate situation there for Revival, but credit to Third Impact. What a closeout. I think, one of the strongest teams we've seen on stream all day. They look completely unfazed in their situation, in their matches played. They looked really, really strong, and stronger as time went on, which I think is probably the more important thing. They just seem to keep getting better throughout the later stages of the tournament.
Third Impact's the strongest team that's played all year, LaFon.
True. All decade, even.
All decade, even. Yeah, you're not wrong. Well, let's see if they can hold that title. They are going to move on to the grand finals, which will be tomorrow. That is our last match for today. But make sure you tune in tomorrow for the conclusion of the Mayhem Winter Classic. One last time, I want to give a quick shout out to our nonprofit partners in the Gift of Life. Exclamation point gift in the chat to figure out, or to find out, rather, how you can help support the fight against blood cancer illnesses. That'll be it for today of the Mayhem Winter Classic. I've been Pulsable, with me's been LaFon, and make sure you arrive tomorrow to see who walks away with the first place prize in the Mayhem Winter Classic.